The federal government has ordered all ministries, departments, and agencies to carry out forward 70% of their 2025 capital allocations into the 2026 fiscal year. The directive means no new capital project will be admitted in the 2026 budget, except those already approved in the 2025 Appropriation Act, an approach government says will reduce duplication, ensure continuity, and deliver better value for money amid revenue constraints. The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, and his counterpart, Minister of Finance, Mr. Wali Edu, speaking after the Federal Executive Council meeting, says only 30% of the 2025 capital budget will be released this year, with the remaining 70% forming the core of the 2026 capital spending plan.
The component of 2025 asked by Arise, which will answer, I think there's always a confusion. First, there's no issue on the personnel and recurrent side. And capital component is work in progress. Some capital projects are multi-year projects in any case.
Issue of overlapping budget, I think there is a commitment to stick to, as much as possible, revert to a normal budget cycle, January to December. That's the commitment. It takes all parties agreeing and working towards that laudable goal, which is to normalize and have the budget, the capital budget we are talking, because we know that the recurrent runs from January to December and then stops.
The circular notes that the framework continues a trend of frequent budget rollover since 2023. Analysts warn the model could worsen transparency concerns and prolong project delivery at a time of rising fiscal pressure. MDAs have until December 9, 2025 to submit their revised figures through government digital portals. Frank Omalape, Arise News.
Well, joining us now to discuss the challenges facing Nigeria's budget cycle is Dr. Chijioke Ekechukwu. He's an economist and he's the vice chairman, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. There's so much to unpack on these issues, but we'll try what we can within the time allotted. Now, government is saying that this directive is based on, number one, immediate needs of the country, like security, economy, education, health, and what have you. And of course, developmental priorities, just like I mentioned. What does this really tell us? That we're putting a stop to about 70% of the budget for 2025 and rolling into 2026. Is it a case of fiscal irresponsibility? What exactly is playing out here?
Nigeria is a country with a fiscal period of January to December. Mm-hmm. And so anything that makes it impossible for us to run our budget from January to December can be described as just what you said, fiscal irresponsibility. The whole world is watching to see how we manage our fiscal policy. Budget is a major fiscal policy decision taken by any government of the world. And so for us to move our capital expenditure of 2025 into 2026 also shows that we are not committed to what we have told Nigerians and in fact the whole world that we're going to do. So we also understand that even part of 2024 is still overlapping into 2025, and then 2025 going into 2026 does not show any commitment and doesn't show any fiscal discipline. Part of a major fiscal discipline of any economy is just for you to ensure that budget, which is just your appropriation of your expenses, will just go according to what you have planned. We know what happened when the U.S. had their economy shut down because there was no appropriation concerning their budget. So I think we need to get a little more serious in the country to be able to show the world that we can actually mean what we say. Budget is been what we say we're going to spend in a particular year. So we've been taking loans, we've been spending. What have we been spending on? What have we been spending on? A lot of contractors in this country today are being owed. Right. And I know that the thing is overlapping into problems encountered by banks and financial institutions that give them loans. So these are part of the problems, and we need to just get a little more serious. We had a fiscal deficit, which we said we are going to be funding with the bank loans, with loans, general loans and every loan that we are going to take. So what aspect of the deficit have we been able to resolve? Is it that we're no longer having enough money to be borrowed, or what has happened to the ones that we borrowed? You know, so we're supposed to be funding our deficit with such borrowed funds, and up to today, nobody has told us what extent of the borrowed funds we have utilized and why we're still borrowing and things like that. Okay. So it's a lot of confusion.
All right, Dr. Ekechukwu, we have just about 2 more minutes to wrap this up. But you listen to government officials, and they have said this is not a failure because capital projects by their nature roll over into the coming years. Do you buy that argument? And what are the consequences of this overlapping and moving of those projects into the coming years?
Yeah, I don't buy that because a particular portion of any particular capital project is being allocated to this particular year's budget. So let us spend those ones that have been allocated to this year. The overlapping side of projects are usually, projects are overlapping, but the fiscal aspect of the financial aspect of them cannot overlap. They must be spent within the year. And if it's a continuous project, then the budget for the next side phase of the project will also enter the budget. But to say that the budget is being overlapping, no. I disbelieve that, and that is not the way to run a fiscal policy. It's not.
Okay, I guess we'll have to leave it there. Do we have any more time?
No.
Okay, we'll have to say thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Chijioke Ekechukwu is economist and former DG, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Vice Chair?
Vice President.
Vice President.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.